I've found that there are a number of really great sewing tools that aren't really talked about enough, and I wonder how many of these 6 secret sewing tools do you know about? Friends, welcome back. It is always wonderful to have you here. If you're brand new, welcome. My name's Evelyn Wood, and I run VintageSewingSchool.com. And of course, we talk everything about sewing your own clothes, and sewing tools are something we talk a lot about, but I've found there are a few tools that do not get talked about enough, to the fact that they're kind of almost secret. So some are super secret, that's my last one, and I'm going to save that one for later. And others are just sort of ones that gets missed from tutorials that you just don't see a lot of, but are really, really great, that every time I show them, people just like, how did I not know about this? And you need to know about this because we need to know all these tools. If you're like me, you love a good sewing tool, and no more secrets. I'm spilling all the beans, including, as I said, my super secret one that I'll save for the last. Okay, now do keep tabs on how many you knew. I would love to know, because I'm sure you're going to know some of these, but some I bet you're going to hear about for the first time. So I'd love to know which ones you have heard of, and well, most importantly, which ones are new to you. All right, first one is a coilless safety pin. So what this means is that this safety pin has no coil. You know that little round bit at the end that all the fabric always gets stuck in? Yeah, coilless. It doesn't, I mean, what? How did I never hear about this before? So you might have seen this one. I made a video recently where I tried some new sewing tools that I'd never tried before, and this was one of them. Now, I think this is secret because if I haven't heard about it before, then it's probably pretty secret. And these were really hard to find, actually. So that's why I think they're probably pretty secret. And I can tell you, I absolutely love this so much. I am on the hunt now for smaller sized ones of these, because I need them in every size. I'm never going back to coil safety pins ever again for my sewing because they just munch up your fabric. I know. I wonder, was this a secret or did you know about this? FYI, I only found out about this one because of some wonderful comments that one of my viewers here, one of you left for me on one of my sewing tools videos. So I really do appreciate it, and I do read through all of those comments. So thank you for those, because that is how I found about this one. Have you ever heard of a hump jumper? Now, if you're a quilter, you absolutely have heard one of these, I know. But I had never heard about it because it is something that's mostly used in the quilting world. And again, this one is one that I had never really tried before and tried, or I used one, but always just sort of made my own with a roll of fabric or something like this. But this one here, this is super secret. I think it's secret to this garment sewing world. The quilters know about it for sure. But what this is for is so that you can actually, when you've got really thick fabrics, say, let's just use this as an example. So as you're coming along, and let's say you've got a really thick, bulky seam like this. This isn't a seam, of course, but you know. And so, you know, you're sewing, and then you come to here, and you know when it just gets all bumpy and your presser foot ends up having to like jump over the hump, right? It's like twisting and, you know, moving around. So what you do is your foot comes along here, and then you keep sewing, and you use this, and then you keep sewing through the needle here, and you can actually then push it with this, and it actually helps push the fabric and all of it through. Then you lift your foot, you take it off, and you keep on sewing. It is incredible because you can actually use it to kind of help push your fabric through when usually it wants to stop, because when it gets to those thick parts, we all know your machine just, you know, doesn't really like it very much, and it's really difficult. If your machine struggles with thick areas, or you love making jeans or stuff with thick things, you will absolutely love this hump jumper, particularly one that you can sew through to kind of use it as a little pushing aid at the same time. I can't believe I never heard of one of these until I come across it and I was looking at some quilting thing one time. So that's why I think this one is super secret, to garment sewing at least. I wonder how many of you have heard of a loop turner. So I use this religiously. If you have been around this channel and watching me sew and sewing tools, you've probably seen me use this one. But I've added it here because I never get surprised of how many people, every time I show this loop turner, are just like mind blown, have never seen it before, and you know, like, I need that tool. How have I never not not known about this before. So a loop turner is just like a really long stick, and it's got a little latch on the end. And so what this is for is basically you insert this into small tubes. So think roulet straps, you know, thin spaghetti straps, any kind of fabric that you want to turn through to the other side. So it goes in, and this latch then hooks around the fabric and allows you to then pull it through, and then you can pull through the strip to the other end. I know, it is so useful. How else are you supposed to pull little spaghetti straps through without one of these? I don't know. I actually always use two. And I use one with masking tape on the end of it, and I just use it as basically like a poker device. So it's just to poke out corners and everything. I find it just really small and thin like this. It's super useful. So a loop turner, yeah, if you haven't heard of one of these yet, you definitely go get yourself at least one, if not two, and do the little poker thing like I do. Overlocker needle threaders. I know if you've never heard of these before, your jaw is about to drop. Something to thread your overlocker with to make it more easily. That sounds great, right? I know. So I found these ones when I was searching through the Sewing Gem website, when I was looking for things for my at-home sewing studio, where I was putting all my personal favorite sewing tools together. And I've made a video about that here, and I'll link that all down below. But I come across these. And so these are from Sewing Gem website, and because I had never heard of them before, and so I had to get them. And I did try them on my Never Tried About Sewing video. And again, if I've never heard of these before, I'm going to assume that you've probably never heard about them either, because if it's a secret from me, I've been doing this a long time. So no more secrets, people. These little loop turners here. So one is for your regular eye of the needle, where you sort of poke this in, you thread it through this big hole here, and then you pull it back through the needle to thread. Quite handy. But what's really handy is this curved one. So on the very end here, it's got sort of a hook rather than a full circle. So what this is for your loopers on your overlocker. So you can put it through the back of the overlocker and then just easily loop it in, because it's just a little thread. So you just slot it in and then pull it back through, and there's your looper threads threaded. So easy. If you have trouble threading your loopers and like the little tweezers and poking them through these, and even your regular needle, these types of things are really useful. If you do have trouble with that, the small little, these are absolute lifesavers. The loop, like the overlocker ones, I'd never heard of. I can't believe I'd never seen them before. Thought it was brilliant. Like, does everyone know about this? I hope so. I hope they do, because I know that'll be super useful for those of you that really struggle with that overlocker threading. Okay, I know a lot of you have probably heard of this one, but it is spray starch. A lot of you are already there, but some of you are just thinking, spray starch, what on earth is that? Like that old-fashioned stuff you used to put on your collars to stiffen them? Yes, that stuff. So you can get it just from the, laundry aisle in the supermarket. There's an aerosol version, a spray version. They're both good for different reasons. But spray starch, this is like, one of the most useful tools in sewing for difficult things, particularly mostly difficult fabrics. So if you have drapey, slippery fabric that just wants to slip and slide everywhere, spray starch over it, give it some structure. It holds it out and flattens it and structures it so you can actually sew it together, and it washes out in the wash. Nothing left behind. It's meant for fabric. That's its whole purpose. And like stretch fabric. So you can spray it on those stretch, and particularly that jersey that rolls and curls on the edges. Oh my goodness, we all know how awful that is. Spray starch around your seam allowances on your pattern pieces so they're all stiff and structured and hold their form, and then you can sew it all together all nice and get a really great result. Pop it in the wash, and all of that starch will disappear, and you end up with your either beautiful drape or your beautiful stretch again. Yeah, if you have not heard of spray starch for using for those things, I've made other videos where I've used it before, or might be in Vintage Sewing School videos. I've used it obviously a lot in there. If you're VSS members, you know I use this a lot and show you how to handle those difficult fabrics. But yeah, absolutely, you're welcome. If you've not heard of this one before, you will absolutely love using this. And are you ready for my very super secret favorite super secret tool? It is this. Bet you can't even see it, can you? Well, these are two different versions of the same thing. It is a snag repair tool. Snag Nabbit is it's often called for one of the brands, and it's really great. So it is just a long stick with some little furry bits on the end. Just bear with me and I'll show you why this is like your jaw will be on the floor in a minute. So you know when you might pull a piece of thread and then it pulls out and you think, oh my goodness, my whole garment is ruined. Look at this, right? And you've got this like, no matter what you do, you've still got this little furry fabric tag that sticks out. Don't throw it out yet. This is where your little tool comes in use. So how it works, you've got the smooth shiny side that you point down and the rough side at the top. So use the pointed side and you want to point it down, poke it through right at the base of your little snag. Then as you come through, you want to kind of grab the snag so you can twirl it around, and you'll know when it catches, and you just then keep pulling it all the way through, and then just like magic, it has disappeared. I know, right? And that snag has now transferred to the back or to the underside of your garment. And the beautiful right side is now perfect. I know. I bet you have never heard of or seen that tool before, and you're thinking, why on earth have I never heard or seen of that before? Because that's exactly what I thought when I first found out about this one too. It is absolute must. You're right. This is even more than a sewing tool. This is just a fashion tool that should be in anyone's wardrobe looking after clothing. I agree. I would absolutely love to know how many were secrets that you never knew. Let us know in the comments below, but even better, do you know of other secret sewing tools that we probably don't know about, or especially that you don't think I know about? I want to hear them because this is how I come up with these great videos, and I always love trying a new tool and sharing it with you. So if you know of a secret sewing tool that you don't think me or someone else knows about, put that in the comments down below because I want to know. Okay, my friends, thanks for watching, and until next time, happy sewing. Bye.